side. And he's had as good, if not better, summer than everybody on the offensive line.
What do you feel like he excelled in the most?
What's that?
What do you feel like he excelled in over the summer the most?
You know what? Part of why I should have said this about him, he's a phenomenal listener. He's a great listener. So because he's a great listener, if I tell Kel something, he puts it into action right away. You know, and just everything, just his overall body strengthening, his conditioning, which, you know, when he got here, just to how we do things. I mean, just everything that young man's about is the right thing, you know. And he has not gone home since he's been here. Has not. You know, everybody was, oh, is he going to make it in Miami, Florida? He's from Cleveland, Mississippi. You know, well, he's fully embraced Miami and the culture, the city, what the city has to offer. And he's got a great mom. His mom's a beautiful lady, Alicia, beautiful lady back in Cleveland, Mississippi. But she knows that her son's here for a reason and a purpose, right? And she supports that. So because of that, he's fully embraced everything here. And Coach, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here and work. So, and one of the things that he does is while they were off last week, he stayed here. He worked out every day because that's his way of gaining an edge on others. So,
do you feel like you fell under someone's wing on the O-line, or if so, who?
If
fell under someone's wing?
Yeah, all of them. Because I mean, Jalen Rivers. You know, part of what we do is, like in our offensive line, I tell them, these guys aren't threats to you. These guys are like your little brothers. It's your job to teach them and guide them. You know, so Jalen's job, Coop, him and Coop have similar personalities, right? Jalen, because Markel, believe it or not, I mean, he's quiet, but he's got some flash to him too now, much like Inez. But he also, so Markel, Jalen and Coop. Yeah, Jalen and Coop, both those guys really have had a positive influence on him. But he's also had an influence on them because of his work ethic. You know, now why would Coop and Jalen choose to help Markel? Because he listens. You know, if I come to you and I tell you, hey, listen, I think you should try to do this, but you kind of like, first thing you do is start talking while I'm talking it. Most of our guys are gonna say, well, okay, go figure it out on yourself. Go hit your head on the wall. But he doesn't. He listens. They see him put it into use, so they're willing to help him. And they know if he's one of the best five, then he should play. You know, they're not afraid. They're not afraid of competition. They embrace it because it brings out the best in all of them.
Akeem Mesidor, status of him.
Mezzy?
Yep, Mezzy.
You know what? I'm glad I'm gonna hate blocking him in practice, but I'm glad that he's part of our program. You know, our offensive line, heck, our D line is really, really loaded, really, really good. So it's gonna make, you know, those battles in practice between Bain, Mezzy, Barron, Simeon Barrow, all those guys. I mean, C.J. Clark, Marley Cook. It's gonna make us better and stronger. You know, but Mesidor is, you know, he's a pro. He's a pro in how he carries himself, how he prepares himself, and I think Mezzy is going to benefit because Tyler Barron's here. He's going to benefit because of Bain. You know, they're all going to benefit from each other. You know, because iron sharpens iron, and the cream's always going to rise to the top.
What does that look like during the fall season, going against all those guys you just?
I'll find out tomorrow. I'll find out tomorrow because, you know, in the spring, Mezzy was out in the spring. Barron wasn't here in the spring. Barrow wasn't here in the spring. So I'm looking forward to it because it's going to make CeCe better. It's going to make Samson better. It's going to make Jalen better, you know, and it's going to make it so now on Saturday, you know, when you line up on Saturday and you get a starter from the ACC or a starter from the SEC rushing you and hitting you for the first time, it's not going to feel that much different. You know, it's going to feel like it's supposed to feel. So it's going to help us.
Samson, a lot of expectations from him, but what, from a coach's perspective, what are you looking from Samson to take up a notch coming into fall camp into the season?
So that our coaching staff can have confidence that when Samson goes into a football game, that there's going to be no drop off. That he's going to be able to play up to this, because he hasn't done it yet, right? He hasn't done it. He got hurt last year, about game 4, got hurt, so he hasn't done it against the opponents that we need to beat to win a conference championship. So just that. And how does he do that? Well, if you can do it against Tyler, and you can do it against Mezzi, and you can do it against Ruben, then you'll be able to do it on Saturdays. So just seeing him do that. Now, he took major steps during spring. But now the competition gets even stiffer in the fall because of those guys. So it'll be awesome to see. But no one has bigger expectations for Samson than Samson does for himself. Nobody.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
What's the next step for Francis that you'd like to see? I know
CC.
Yeah.
Better use of his hands. More dominant and overwhelming in the run game. That's what I'd like to see from him.
You touched on guys move different positions.
Yes.
Is the plan kind of initially Samson more of a guard, or different kind of triangle tackle? How do you kind of view fall camp? Initially
tackle, and then slide him into guard if we need to. Yeah.
Is it a different approach for you in fall camp than spring in terms of moving guys around? I assume that
the faster we can get to set lineups, the better, right? But you've got a depth chart that you have to be able to go through a whole practice. Okay? That's not the same depth chart that you use in a game. All right? So when you look out there and you might say, okay, this guy on practice number 1, so-and-so is running with the second group at right guard. Okay, great. When we go play our first game, if our right guard's shoe blows out, that doesn't mean that kid's going in. My job is to put the next best person in the game, right? So there's a difference between a practice depth chart and a game depth chart. Completely different. That I think sometimes fans of media, they don't understand that. I don't care who the second left tackle is. If something happens to our starting left tackle, and it might be the second left tackle, but our job is to put in the next best offensive lineman. And if that requires us to shuffle the starting right tackle to left tackle and then slide the next guy, then that's what you do. And that's real. On game day, it becomes NFL. In the NFL, on game day, you travel with 8 offensive linemen. So that's what we do, right? We start practicing that tomorrow, So at certain times tomorrow, I'll pretend, okay, Zach's down. Ryan, you got to go in. And Ryan will be in there with the ones at center with Cam at quarterback. So at the first time that doesn't happen is in a game, So we'll start doing that kind of stuff tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow at some point. Markel will be at left tackle with the ones, and Jalen will be at left guard with the ones. At some point, Coop tomorrow will be at right tackle. Because how do you get your best 5 guys out there?
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, you just kind of said you're willing to move a tackle to a guard on a game type situation. I was going to ask.
But I'll tell you this right now. Like tomorrow, the first 2 guards that are going out there tomorrow, because everybody wants to know, right, is going to be Coop and McCoy. Right? They're both guard. Right? They were both tackles. They both came here as tackles. McCoy is 6'7", 338 pounds. He's bigger than Jalen Rivers, who's playing tackle. He's got as good as feet as Jalen, who's playing tackle. He's as long as Jalen, who's playing tackle. Coop is as big or bigger than CeCe. CeCe's playing tackle. So that's what I'm saying, that people get stuck on that about guard and tackle. Really, we've got 4 tackles and 1 center. That's really ideally, as a college football program, that's really what most of us are trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because longer is better. You know what I'm saying? So Tommy Kinsler will take reps tomorrow he'll start tomorrow with the second group at right guard. Tommy Kinsler is 6'6", and he's 330 pounds. So that's kind of the trend in college football, which follows kind of like the NFL trend. So it's not as hard. Maybe I should answer. It's not as hard for a tackle to go play guard or guard to play tackle when you recruit them like that. Does that make sense? So, and that's just kind of Centers are a little bit different, right? Centers are a little bit different, right? But that's just kind of how we do it. So it's not that hard. It's not as hard as everybody makes it out to be.
So essentially, with that, what I was going to also asking, if you're bringing in a guy, you said it's not essentially left tackle, jump in.
That's right.
But you're essentially what you're saying is you would be okay with taking your backup right guard and make
if he's the next guy, if he's the next best guy, of course.
You're willing to go guard and tackle from second screen, not just left or right tackle.
That's right. Yes, sir.
If it needs to be.
100%.
Because essentially, what you just said, that we're essentially most of them were tackles anyway.
Yeah,
so.
and we do that throughout the course of practice. So throughout the course of practice, you know, we'll script that up. We'll script that up where, okay, now these 4 plays, this is going to be the group with the ones. You're right, and it's just so that what you can't do. Shame on you as a coach if you do it for the first time during a game, right? So you got to do that during a practice session.